Okay, we are going to subtract fractions, and I'm going to show you exactly how it works. We're going to take the fractions 3/4 minus 5/14, and I will show you how to subtract those. The process for addition will be exactly the same. In order to subtract fractions or add fractions, you must have a common denominator. The denominators here are 4 and 14. They are not the same. We must create a common denominator in order to add fractions. The first question then is, what is the common denominator of 4 and 14? If you are very familiar with your multiplication tables, you may know that it is 28. But if that's not obvious, then look at this technique. Start with 14, that's the bigger number, and count by 14s. 14 times 1 is 14. 14 times 2 is 28. 14 times 3 would be 42, and we could count by 14s by adding 14 to each number. Actually, 14 times 2 is 28 is far enough, because what we're looking for is a number that's divisible by that one, by 4, the smaller one. Another way to see this, if you count by 14s, you come to 28. If you count by 4s, the smaller denominator, you get this. 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2, 4 times 3, 4 times 4, 4 times 5 is 20, 4 times 6 is 24, and 4 times 7 is 28. So we come to 28 by counting by 4s, we come to 28 when we count by 14s. If you count by the denominators, the first number you come to that's in both lists is your common denominator. It's easiest to know your multiplication tables. 4 times 7 is 28, 14 times 2 is 28. Now that we know the common denominator of 4 and 14, we can add our fractions, or in this case, subtract them. To build the common denominator, always start with the fractions you're given. 3/4 minus 5/14 equals. The first fraction, 3/4, we must multiply the top and bottom of 3/4 by the same number so that the denominator will be 28. We have already observed that 4 times 7 is 28. So we multiply 4 times 7 on the bottom to get 28. Immediately we multiply the numerator by 7 also. The reason is 7 over 7 equals 1, and as long as you multiply by 1, you have not changed the value of the fraction you get. The second fraction, we're going to subtract 5/14. The 14 on the bottom must be multiplied by something to get 28. Multiply 14 times 2 to get 28 on the bottom of this fraction. Also multiply the numerator by 2 for the same reason as before. 2 over 2 is a clever way to write 1, so we multiply 5/14 times 1 times 2 over 2 in order to get an equivalent fraction that has 28 in the bottom. Here are the equivalent fractions. You have 3/4 times 7 over 7. 3 times 7 is 21. Over 4 times 7 is 28. Minus, you have 5/14 times 2 over 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 14 times 2 is 28. Now you have new fractions with common denominators. Easy to subtract now. Subtract the numerators. 21 minus 10 is 11. Keep the common denominator, 28. 11/28 is the final answer. Always look to see if it can be reduced. 11 and 28 do not have any common factors. There is no number you can divide them both by bigger than 1, so it's reduced. There's your final answer.